meant to be right this week. What is it for me?
No. I can't even see the sky. It's very grey here. It's still raining.
Oh, too bad.
Hi, Pauline.
Tava vendido cara a cara e conseguiu milagre. Isso, espetacular.
Joe's not supported again. Don't know what's happened there. So I'm so sorry. I don't know why you put me out like that. He's asking me to join again. That's odd.
Lautaro recebe.
What did your daughter do last time?
É desarmado. Theo. Som. Com coragem, sem cometer o pênalti, só na bola. Aplicada a lei da vantagem, segue o jogo.
Just coming out.
Atal. Recebe som. Grande desarme para acabar com o ataque. Dá para sair o contra-ataque. Pega Cesny, sensacional.
I can't see this background. I know
Apitou, acabou. Intervalo de jogo. Final do primeiro tempo.
Hello?
Oh, you joined and I thought it would, I'm so sorry. Oh, it's still showing but the camera's not working.
Do we do...
Sorry, I'm just wasting so much of your time.
Don't worry.
So,
I mean, Annalise, do we do what we did last time? Just all come out and then all go back in again? Because last time that helped, didn't it?
that. Yeah.
So I'll end the meeting and then we can all just click on the same thing.
Okay, alright.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It just looks like your background. You changed it.
Yeah. It's a bit too psychedelic.
I like the plants in the back though.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
I rescued it from them.
Why don't you get a bonsai plant or whatever?
I want to. I have to go. I was looking for bonsai.
Intercepta a bola no ataque.
Take 3.
Savania. Zola. Bola com Caravinha. Ótimo
I wonder if
lançamento de
Joey
ataque.
keeps pop-ups of the meeting started. The meeting started, just say hi to them all.
Quadrado. Corta a zaga. O ataque era bom. O Tique Incendies busca o espaço. Quer o gol. Perdeu. Matou o ataque.
I just got some perk box thing about 20 minutes relaxation audio. Can I just play it? Just like put on a night mask. Just like curl up on the chair. Love that.
Are you in Gilmore? You're up. Oh, here we go. Oh, that worked.
Sorry. I've said sorry so much time in 1 hour.
Don't worry. This happens all the time. It literally takes me, ask Annalise, takes me about 15 minutes for my computer to decide to work, so don't worry about it, it's fine.
Because I use Zoom anyway, so reliable, but that's not it. Do you remember where we were?
So we were saying, asking you about your experience of working in a multidisciplinary agency and what the positives and negatives were with that.
Yeah, as I was saying, yes, it was, you know, sometimes if you're working with the same, there can be that familiarity, but working with different and respecting others and respecting what they believe. Say, for instance, I was working within a Catholic school, and we had to introduce multi-faith, how they pray. It was one set way of being Catholic, pray that way, the Christian way, and then we had students from so many different backgrounds. We had to introduce, obviously, a multi-faith prayer. And I was a part of setting that up, actually, making them feel comfortable alongside the Catholic ethos of the college that I worked at. Yeah, I think, yeah, more or less.
And what's the negatives of working in the multidisciplinary age? What do you think are the negatives?
Well, I have to think about that one. The negatives are perhaps people become offended by things and that they don't understand. They're offended because it's a different way of working and learning, just learning through difference and being able to cope with difference and not working the way we've always worked, but being open to change and how others may work or their culture may allow them to do such and such a thing. But you know, perhaps we're not used to that and we don't like that. Yeah.
Thank you. Emily?
Tell us a bit about your experience applying the crisis and creating a safety plan.
Right, okay. I had a client that had tried to take their life by jumping the gate. And the mental health services obviously got alongside them. And he was sent to, obviously, the services to support him. But he decided, no, I just think this is a bit mechanical. Let me go to a private counsellor. So he found me, and we looked at, you know, why did you need to do this, and just the scenarios leading up to that point where he felt to take his life, and we were working more around prevention now. What will prevent you from ever doing that again? You tried this, you know, we're grateful that he's still here. But we looked at ways of how his life could change now. What were the negatives? What was driving him to do certain things? Putting boundaries in his life where there were no boundaries really, that caused him anxiety and a lot of depression. So now looking at ways of changing those patterns of behaviour and what he could do now, what he could do going forward.
So when you say working towards prevention, what does that look like? What tools did you use for that?
Well, I use CBT tools. I engaged my form, the GAD-7 form where I reviewed it, went through this, assessed him, depending on what his count was. We'd speak about that, and then we'd review it again in a 3-4 weeks. I'd do the same assessment and then see if there was any improvement and how we felt within the himself, and thankfully there was great improvement, and he was able to move forward. Just knowing that their characters have changed, and yeah, that's great. I feel like I'm moving towards something more concrete in my life, more safe.
So what about clients that isn't moving forward? Because I suppose asking, because that's a big chunk of the work that we do here. So how have you dealt with clients who have been at high risk? What sort of things have you thought would think? So if I give you a scenario, and if you tell me what you would do in that scenario, what things would be important to you. So if you give you a scenario, David is an officer. He's disclosed to his line manager. No, he's gone home after his shift, and he's uploaded onto his Facebook account that he's thinking of taking his own life. David lives with his grandma. He has a girlfriend, and he's also disclosed to his line manager that actually he stopped taking his medication. He's got a history of anxiety and depression, and when he was younger he attempted to take his own life. What would be the things that you would think were of concern in that scenario, and what would be some of the things that you would do with regards to David?
Well, obviously he's showing signs of having a history of mental health, and it's just getting to the bottom of what was put in place before. But first and foremost, it would be being able to contact his doctor and his GP, and letting or talking this through with him, to be able to contact his doctor in the first instance and say, that he's feeling suicidal, I've stopped taking my medication, and this is what's happening now.
Okay. Anything else?
Autoriza a arbitragem, bola rolando. Começa o primeiro tempo da prorrogação.
At what point would I be talking to him as a counsellor?
Well, he would come through on one of our duty lines, so you'd have this synopsis, so you would be talking to him already, I suppose, in that synopsis, because you'd have this information.
Okay. I thought that you would, it was something, but I hadn't met yet. That I was going to give them, sorry. Well, I would just stick with what's going on for him now. What is going on for him now? He's telling people, his line manager, that he feels suicidal. What's making me feel suicidal? And yes, some people are just in that stuck phase where they get they make a bit of improvement, but then something happens and they go right back. So it's just looking at what's happening now, what's changed for you within the last 2 weeks, within the last week. Has something happened? A setback, setback. What's happened? So just exploring what's happened. And is there any way you can get support from your line manager, presently, or whether it's just looking at, there could be so many things that causes a mental health setback. Sometimes easier when you're staying is when you're actually sitting with it. Sit with it. When somebody says they're suicidal, it's very serious. It puts a great burden on the because you're obviously there to make sure affects his life in any way. So it's sitting with basically what has changed for you since the last time you felt like this. What's triggered it?
Thank you.
Thank you. Could you tell us a bit about your experience running support groups?
E acaba o primeiro tempo da prorrogação. Daqui a pouquinho, os últimos 15 minutos.
No, I haven't. Sorry. I didn't realize that you needed to, by way of support group, what do you mean? I mean, what would you require from us? I mean, is there a job required to run support groups?
Part of the support that we provide are so there's trauma support meetings, which is supporting a group of people about trauma debrief. We'll also ask people of their experience carrying out support groups because we're looking to bring in support groups for people on waiting lists. So it's actually quite often people give examples of where they've had groups of 8 to 10 people focused on a specific area.
And that I love. I believe I could sit very well within that. And this is why I am coming, I have applied, because I want to learn these things. Sitting as a private practice, sometimes you're not going to get an opportunity to do these things. I'm trying to move myself out, but I can learn new things. And sitting as part of a group, that's my top thing. Because I love that, because you're getting opinions, you can support that group within a group, and they can hear from each other, and that's sometimes they can see people in the same, very similar circumstances playing.
Thank you. What is your experience of supervision, receiving supervision or even delivering supervision to your trained to deliver supervision?
Well, I'm not trained as a supervisor. My supervisor actually said to me that a month ago, why don't you train as a supervisor? But I haven't yet. Yes, I have supervision once, twice a month with my supervisor. I've been seeing them for a good couple of years now. Had one before, but I've had supervision since training, never stopped having supervision. That was one of my questions actually. I was going to ask you, what about supervision? I'm sure you supply that, whether it be group or individual. It'd probably be more as a group setting with the organisation, I don't know. But yes, I'm fully familiar with supervision. I had supervision on Monday.
Cool. And I suppose we can answer your question here, is that you'd have individual supervision and you'd also take part in the group supervision as well with your peers. And is that the last question? No.
Just one more.
One more. Sorry.
When have you handled a complaint from a client, and what did you learn from the experience?
I'm gonna have to really think now. Because the complaint would come to me, wouldn't it? So it'd be more difficult, because it would be easier for them to complain to you about me. But if they're complaining to me, I think it's harder. So I don't think I've had a complaint as such. It would be more, because I do say, am I working? Is this okay for you? And do you feel uncomfortable? I do really open up the barriers to communicating with me. If there's anything that you're not happy with, please tell me. But they haven't. I'm wondering if they're trying to be nice.
No.
My goodness, because your face looks so quite innocent, we can't tell you what we really think.
No. I think clients they vote with their feet, and if you're managing to keep your client for 75 sessions, I think they're getting what they need from you. So I think you've answered the questions.
Yeah, that's what my supervisor said on Monday. She goes, Pauline, you keep your clients. That speaks for itself. Because you know when you get these times where you think, oh, I'm not doing a good job. She said, your clients, you still got all your clients. What's that saying to you?
Cool. So that was our last question, Pauline. So this is the bit where it's over to you, for you to ask any questions that you may want to find out from us.
Okay, I'll be quick because I know I've wasted so much time bouncing out of the meeting.
Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Okay. I was just going to ask about, first of all, supervision. What, you know, and you I think you've answered that, Catherine, about group and sometimes individual.
Always individual. Always individual.
And how often can I have that? Is that every 2 weeks?
So you'd have you have supervision once a month, following with the BACP, and so that's something that you would agree with your supervisor about the day and when, and then the group is also within the month, so you'd get the hour and a half that is required by the BACP for that. So you may have your individual towards the beginning of the month, and then you may have the group towards the end of the month. But obviously you can contact me as the lead at any point in time if you want to talk about a case, and also the supervisors are also on hand if there is something urgent and serious that you need to speak to them about. It operates much in the same way as your private practice. Something happens and there's a risk and you feel that you need to speak to your supervisor, then we would allow that to happen. So for instance, if you're working with officers and there's one of your officers unfortunately should pass away, that'd be something that we would, obviously you'd have supervision for with your supervisor. Yeah.
And is that something that's obviously through you? You allocate the supervisor, and that's all done through yourself?
Yeah, we provide the supervisor, you don't do anything at all.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay, I was just checking that. And obviously, a lot of the work I currently do, I am dealing with massive work-related stress, massive. And I wanted to just ask a question. Supposing I had a client, you know, and this always happens as well, and a very alarming rate now. They're just not listening. The managers are just not listening. I want to go back to work, but every time I go and I say this or say that, I'm not being heard. I know how I currently I encourage dialogue and, you know, go back and see if they, you know, just sort of like write them an email at the meeting, try and encourage them to do those things, even though I'm not giving them advice. I'm sort of feeling around this. What would you say in that instance when they are stuck and they want to go back to work but can't because of the dynamics of work? That maybe, I know that's a bit of a, you made me think about that one.
Annalise, do you want to answer or shall I?
I think that's a really interesting question because it's quite a broad question in terms of this hypothetical person is struggling with dynamics at work. What would we say to them? Keeping in mind that we're not, you know, we work within occupational health, but we're not occupational health, so we do not give advice. I think my instinct in that situation would be to explore what the blockers are with the individual, because obviously we're not faced with their manager. We don't know. We only know one side, and we can only work with the one side of the story that we're presented with. So I appreciate that's a bit of a politician's answer, but that's the answer that I'm giving. I don't know if you have anything to add, Catherine.
Yeah, I think based on what Annalise is saying, so our role, especially working for the Met, is with the counselling service, we have quite a unique role, which is separate from the OHAs who deal with the fitness for work aspect of it. And so they have access to the line measures, and so if someone is off work, there's usually a reason why they're off, if it's medical, or if they've been placed on recuperative duties and they're building them back up to full strength, or if they've been on long-term sick, which is maybe what your question is. And before they would return back to work, some of the things that they might have the counselling to get their emotional resilience back up to scratch, but then that would have already been planned with the OHA who would do their face with face. Yeah. So in essence, your role, if you come on board, is that's not your concern really. Your concern is really the mental health of that individual person rather than their physical health, which is something that the OHAs would look after, if that answers your question.
No, and the thing is, before I obviously get the client, there'll be information about them and why they've gone into counselling. So yes, obviously that would give me another side to why they're in counselling, whereas now I'll be hearing from one person and just the client, and I there's no background from the actual work, their place of work.
Well, we wouldn't give you the background because the background is a narrative. It's a narrative that the client would give you in the session if they choose to, but you don't need the narrative about what's happening in his work.
No, but I meant just a little who they are, what the, you know, if they're not a little who they are. That's what I meant. I didn't mean a full report of them.
Yeah. But you can read that to your heart's content if you want to, but it would make no real.
Because as I said, you're working with the here and now. What's happening here and now?
Cool.
And my other question was, what does the caseload? I'll just finish it up here because I know you're going to go. What does the caseload look like? Say, does it depend on, say, like, say I said to Optima Health that I just wanted to do 3 days. So say if I was doing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, what would Wednesday look like? Would I be given many clients?
So your caseload, depending, because obviously this role is quite varied in terms of what we want our counsellors to do. So week on week it might be a little bit different, but in essence your normal caseload would be 5 officers or staff that you would see. But then if you were covering duty, then you'd have the duty stuff that you would cover, so you'd only see 2 officers on that day. And depending on the business need, you also might have 4 clients and one site screening client, or you might have 3 clients, trauma debrief and a site screening. So it varies in terms of what your diary would look like week on week. So, but in general, we would expect you, if you were doing 3 days, to have a caseload of 15 per week.
Tem tudo para ser uma partida bem interessante, viu, Anny? A minha principal dúvida é qual vai ser a postura, qual vai ser a atitude do time aqui. Eles precisam mostrar que já esqueceram a derrota do jogo passado.
When obviously the session will be 80%, I'd say on Zoom, not Zoom, on do I use obviously Teams?
So everyone gets the option of face-to-face or Teams, and we ask people to come in. And so if someone's working 3 days, we ask them to be on site for 2 days. So the option is for 2 of the days to be face-to-face, and 1 day would be virtual.
Alright. That's very good. And obviously where would I come into? I'd come into where's your offices or on site?
We have 2 bases. We've got 6 and we're based in Pennington.
Camavinga.
That's right.
Camavinga.
It wasn't right to that, believe enough when I was That's great. I think that's it for me. Obviously, with this role, I've been trained. And I know I'm happy to train, to get to know what I need to know and do it to the best of my ability.
Cool.
So we just also a big note that everyone who does this role does have to go through vetting. So if you were successful, we would advise still don't take any actions, quit any current work because the vetting can take up to 6 months. And we suggest we have to. And I know that Jodie mentions it on the phone, but
she did mention.
And how many days were you looking for?
The minimum was 3, wasn't it? It was 3. I was looking for not full time.
And it says here that would be Wednesday to Friday.
If that was okay. If it wasn't, I could do Monday to Wednesday or the middle of the week, whatever was easiest for you.
E pelo menos agora, Caioba, com a bola no pé, dá pra respirar um pouco.
That's us done. So thank you for your time today.
Apologies for the, I had to look at the whole of my system and team. So I really know what I had to download this particular my MacBook first. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry, it's fine.
It's technology.
Yeah, thank you for seeing me. Thank you for seeing and thank you for your time.
Conduz, explora.
No worries.
All the very best. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bote preciso, só na bola. É lateral. Casemiro.
I'll go first because I normally let you go first. I'm going to say, as a person, she's a very, very nice woman. I really, really liked her. When she first started talking, I wrote, oh, I really like her. She's really nice. I wrote that down. I wrote, I like her. She's really nice. As the sessions went on, she's a very nice woman, but doesn't have a clue. Sorry.
Mesmo jogando em casa, o time tem menos posse da bola, mas pelo menos mostrou eficiência no ataque. Como estão na frente, podem até jogar mais fechados, mas eu acho
Vilani,
o gol não saiu, mas isso não tira o mérito da jogada. Ajeitou o corpo muito bem para pegar esse voleio.
I feel like if we had all fully qualified counsellors who'd been here for a couple of years, we had 18 full-time equivalent, and we're looking to take someone on who would need a lot of training and support, but could be fantastic, she would be great, and she would be someone who I think we could really nurture. But we're just not in that situation.
No. I mean, we could defer her and say she can apply again in 6 months' time after getting more experience. Because it is the experience that came through, because, you know, and it really shows when the fact that she's done her counselling and then she's just gone and sat in private practice, which just gives you no exposure to anything. So even that question about, you know, working in a multidisciplinary setting completely went over her head. She started talking about unconscious bias and respect for others. I mean, these things are relevant, but then you need to say, well, actually, when you're working in a multidiscipline, you know, it's just the understanding to put it in. And obviously, she didn't have a clue about what the Christopher instance is at all.
Yeah, she started, when we talked about multidisciplinary agency, she started talking about multi-faith prayer room.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, that's not what we're asking. And then she was going on about, oh, people could be offended by things.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, yes, because they might get easily offended. But again, that's not what we're asking.
No.
Like, and also, yeah, it's, I think she took multidisciplinary as like diversity and not as you've got a psychiatrist, an OHA and a counsellor all sat in a room deciding what to do with a client.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the rest question, again, we just need her to say, I would do a safety plan with this person, and she didn't quite, couldn't get the, to kind of really say what it is. I mean, I think she was refreshing in the sense that, you know, she is honest in her lack of knowledge, you know, like the support group, she just said, you know, I think she realised herself, I haven't done that before. And the complaints, again, you know, in her bubble, she hasn't had, you know, she's right, you know, she hasn't had any complaints. So,
and you know what, if she'd done better in the earlier questions, I was thinking not even in placement.
Yeah.
Or is there not a complaint that she has as a student welfare officer that she could use transferable? Because if she was engaging with students and offering pastoral support for 10 years, from 2012 to 2022, yeah. Not a single one of them complained about her.
Yeah.
And this is students who are grumpy.
Yeah. Students who are grumpy. So, but this, you know, it almost shoots down your suggestion for her, which is someone that if we had time. I'm not sure if we would have enough time, because I think her baseline understanding of things is, because it sounds really horrible, but like you say, the complaints thing, you could have looked at your whole working life and gone, oh, actually, did you, you know, separate from the counselling, this is how I've dealt with complaints before. But she wasn't able to do that. So and then she said I would need a lot of training herself at the end. So
she's got awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think classic nice but no.
Yeah. This was a classic.
Don't write that. We're not writing that.
No, we're not writing that. We're not writing that. I think what our feedback is, needs to go and gain more experience, but happy for her to reapply after 6 months.